Hey, party people. Today we are going to be reviewing some more fashion design portfolios. We're going to be looking at 3.5 fashion design portfolios. In fact, what is the 0.5? Does that mean that you can turn in half done work for me to filter through? No. That is not what that means. The 5 is someone from the last portfolio critique video updated their portfolio, and we're going to take a look at what they've done with it. It has been raining cats and dogs where I live in the world, and you know what? Video's got to get videoed. So I'm going to try really hard to filter out the rain sound in this video. I apologize in advance if I don't catch all of it. Okay, let's look at this project first from Ada / Slay, fall ready to wear. I wish they had put a year on this because being able to keep up with trends and what is happening and how dated something looks depending on the year, like that kind of thing is important for fashion designers. So the mood board, very intriguing. Really cohesive color story with the reds and the pinks and then like the slate gray. And we've got violence and we've got like uber femme. And, you know, I always talk about how I don't want to read a wall of text, but her text reads really fast. Like it's so easy to read that I was able to skim it because she doesn't get like really pretentious. She doesn't try to write in such a contrived, artistic way. She just gets straight to the point, which makes for an easy read. And so she's talking about watching 90s slasher movies and talking about how the girls who dare to ever have sex always get killed before the end of the movie, which is absolutely true. It is an often discussed trope in movies when people review horror films. And so I love that that's kind of what's the jumping ground for this project. Design development, I would have preferred if I don't really see a lot of development here. It just looks like rough sketches and some online swatches. Okay. And I would have preferred if this showed more about the fabric. If you showed a real understanding of what fabrics would be needed to get your concepts across. Your illustrations are beautiful. Your flats are pretty good. You know, especially the kinds of silhouettes that you have going on in this project. It's really important that you see the back of the garment, and you did drop in the gray. If the gray was a little bit stronger, I wouldn't be mad at it, so that it is very clear what the back of the garment is as opposed to the front. Very cute. Little spanky pants that go underneath also. And then we start getting into the blood splatters. And so remember that previous design development page, I would have liked to have seen something where you talked about what you would be doing to get this kind of effect. You know, is it hand painting? Is it a place print? You know, is it a textural change? What is it? All of these, they don't really have any marker of what fabrics these are. So even though you have like a little blurb on what fabrics you're being used, it would be like a better use of this space, because you already are showing me that you're very good at sketching. Instead of just random rough sketches, I would have had bigger swatches, each swatch labeled with the fiber content and what they are and which ones are your bottom weights, which ones are your top weights, you know, kind of talking about how stretchy they are because you have very tight to the body things, and then kind of talk about how you get those blood splatters. Because at this point, if I saw a swatch that had blood splatters, I would be even more intrigued to keep looking. You know, the whole point is to keep people like, oh, what's going on next? What's going on next? Right? You know, I went to college in LA, so I remember those Angeline billboards, and it was always like, what is this Angeline person about? Hilarious. But yeah, I do associate a little bit of this kind of pink with Angeline. You can wear a coat like this open, but in terms of the construction, it would very much be constructed, the pattern would be drafted that it would be able to close. It would be styled open like this, but it would very much be able to close. No one's going to buy a coat that you can't actually close when you need to, okay? But these little heart motifs and everything, very cute. And the lineup, I would prefer the lineup at the top, but that's just a preference. It's not a big deal, but this is very cute. I would work mostly on showing that you have a solid understanding of fabrics and how these pieces are going to get constructed. That is really the next step for you, and that is really important for a designer. Like, do you know how these are going to get made? Like, you have great ideas, you have great boards, you have great sketching skills. What's next? How are you going to get them made? Here is Ada's second project, Safe and Sound. Again, I wish there was a year. And this is also very intriguing. You know, it seems like Ada's sort of signature is to have very feminine elements with, you know, spices of things that look very violent. And good for you, girl. I like it. And again, like the way Ada writes is really to the point and easy to read. But even despite that, I would say, how about you highlight some of your keywords to make it easy for people flipping through a million portfolios, and just really like either highlight them with a different color, underline them, or something where you're like, these are the key points I'm trying to get you to look at, the concepts that you're trying to elicit. And again, this is all very interesting, but at the same time, it's just a bunch of rough sketches. It's not really design development. I want to see, well, you have this chain and you have these buttons and you have some spikes, but I really want to see your materials. I want to see any special techniques like the other one where you had all the fake blood. I preferably, I would have wanted to see you actually try to apply some sort of fake blood onto, you know, white fabrics, the denim, something like that. So you're showing that you are researching how this could apply in real life and have some scans, photographs of the blood-soaked fabric. And if you have like a special ruffling technique, a corseting, lacing technique, something, I want to see that. I want to see your fabrics here because you have these beautiful sketches. You're clearly a gifted sketch artist, but you are not showing off how these garments are going to be constructed. And that's why the end of your project looks unfinished. Like, you have a lot of incredible ideas. And now, I'm not saying Ada does this or has ever done this or anything like that, but just outside, on my channel, everywhere, people ask me often, Zoe, is it possible for me to get a job just coming up with ideas, sketching them out, and making somebody else do the rest? And it's not, okay? Not unless you already have built a reputation and a name for yourself as someone who can create collections that sell, that are possible to be made, can be made, and will sell. And ghost designers do exist, but they have, even if we've never heard of their names, they have reputations within the industry for doing that kind of work because they have been doing all of the more beginning part of the career work. They've done all the scut. They've learned all of this garment construction and how things come together and what the market is looking for. They've done all those things and built up a reputation for being a good designer. And that's how they become ghost designers. No one's going to hire someone with no track record and be like, okay, I'm going to take you for your ideas. Early on in my career, because I was a good sketch artist, you know, people would be like, oh, I just want to run the business side. I want you to do designing. I can't pay you for 2 years, like that sort of thing. Okay. If you want those kind of offers, that's on you. Okay. But these are interesting. They're well sketched, but it shows me nothing about the construction, what these fabrics will be made out of. You know, there are so many layers to these exciting outfits, but you, the designer, needs to tell me this is a sleeveless sweater. Oh no, this is a sweater that the sleeves are attached. This is all one piece. The cobwebs, are they all part of a thing, or is this polka dot a sweater under the sleeveless sweater? Like, we need flats. We need fabric instruction, information, all these things. What is this? Is this all one dress with the hood? Is the hood separate? What's going on? What parts are what? Like, these are all things that we need to know as designers, because we're not illustrators, we're designers. This is Ada's last project, Corporate Queendom. Always a really interesting mood board with lots of eye candy to look at, with simple, straightforward description of what she was going for. And this is cool. So basically, these are printed photos of runway models that I cut to slot different images behind them to brainstorm different garment ideas. So basically, they took this, they cut out whatever color this shirt was, they put a different picture behind it to create this shirt out of this picture. Okay? And that's how they came up with their designs, which I think is really cool. And then here are some process sketches, which we could clearly see at this point Ada loves to sketch. And then here are the final designs. And again, super interesting. This project is completely incomplete. You have no fabrics. You have no instruction on what these garments are, whether they're a dress or separates, what they're made out of, what's an accessory, what's part of the garment. None of that stuff. You just have a lot of really great illustrations, and you just have like really great mood boards. You have great ideas, but you need to execute. Okay. So notes for Ada: learn fabrics and construction. Y'all need to send me a cookie every time I say this, but learning construction is not about whether you yourself know how to sew a beautiful baby roll hem or a perfect Hong Kong finish, welt pocket, whatever. It's about knowing what those things are and when those things need to be applied to get the overall design that you had imagined in your mind. Okay? Finish your projects, because you get to the point where you illustrate your designs and you're a strong illustrator, and it's probably because you enjoy illustrating. They usually go hand in hand. And then you're like, okay, I'm done. I did it. Here are my designs. Please read my mind as to what they are. Okay, now you need to finish the project. So good start. Keep going. Do not start a new project. Oh my God, that is not where your problem lies. Your problem lies in executing enough so that it looks like you can help these things get made. Yeah, you work for a bigger company and there'll be tech designers and a product development team to help you, but you as the designer need to guide them. Like, this was my vision, and you need to guide them towards your vision. So you need to know enough information in order to do that. This is Marta. Okay, so Marta has all these pictures of clothes. Like, her entire website is one long scrolled page, which can work, but we'll talk about that more in a second. But so on the sides, it says Anna Field, office casual, Anna Field, office occasion, Anna Field, occasion. So, and then even and odd, daily casual. So, am I supposed to assume that these are brands that Marta has worked for, and these are designs that she has done? There's no information. You know how I always say I don't like reading walls of text? This one swung the opposite way. There's not enough information. Like if you have a bunch of photos, be like, I designed this for this brand. It just takes a one-liner. Okay. I designed these for the brand. I was the creative director at Anna Field when we produced this collection. It was spring 2022. Something. And then like a little bit about one of these brands, like Even and Odd. Okay, we were a junior company and we sold at these places. And you know, even if you were designing for a really fancy brand, like maybe like a household name like Gucci, you wouldn't have to explain, but you should explain your role. Like I was an assistant designer for these collections or something, like something. So lacking information. And then fashion designer, freelance fashion editor. I guess this is a magazine and this was an editorial they did. That's cool. You know, if you are you're a designer and that's all you want to do and all your projects are design projects, you know, it is possible to get away with just having one long scroll where people are looking at projects. But when you have multiple career divergences in your portfolio, you really need to have pages that separate that out so that in the heading it'll say home, design work, editing work, magazine work, something, and then resume at the end. This trend and style, if you are doing any kind of trend forecasting, it is even more important that you date these with a season and year so that people can see whether you're actually close to the mark on your trend forecasting or not. Same here. I did scroll all the way down. I do not see how this relates to any finished work. Work in progress. Nobody cares about work in progress unless it directly relates to a specific finished piece. Okay? Like these are cool, but what happened to it? I just don't care. Anybody could do this. This doesn't actually require much at all. It's who can execute to the end. Also, this, like, I don't know what this means. It just says structure, architecture. Architecture and other forms of art are a great source of inspiration. Shapes and structures are basic resources to create new collections. Everybody knows that. Did you make any of these clothes? And if so, why aren't you highlighting those clothes? Like, I don't understand the point of this. Like, if this was your mood board for a specific collection, it needs to go with the collection. Otherwise, it is just an idea you had. Now, this, to me, is cool. And I would have had a special tab in my pages to show this contest that you entered, because you're showing like the breakdown of this garment. You have your trims. This is really about like, I know how to put a garment together. I know how this works. These are my favorite things. And here's a photo of a model where ultimately wearing your designs, which I think is very cool. And then also this one, same thing. I would have had a separate page where I had all of these listed so people can see my beautiful flat skills, how I put trims together, how I know how a garment gets made. Like those are the good things. This one is a design for kids, hand painted. I would like to see like a high-res close-up of your hand painting. It's very pretty, but again, if you have finished garments, blow it up. Be like, look how good I did. Look at this beautiful hand painting, iron things before you take pictures. Here are the good things about your resume. It's like you've separated out your experience as an editor and experience in design. Very smart, okay? So that when you're actually like turning in resumes for a job, depending on the job you're applying for, you should have two separate resumes, a design resume and an editing resume. But for the whole website, to have them both separated out on one thing is fine. Okay, you have a lot of education, you got a lot of separate certificates. That's great. Your additional skills, your languages, you don't have a lot of random fluffy stuff that doesn't matter. That's all great. You have a really big paragraph on about me and a really big paragraph on others, and then additional experience writing short stories. I mean, I guess that relates more to editing and being able to write and things like that. But this whole thing, you can have about me page with, a couple of paragraphs of speaking of your experience. They should be excluded from your resume. Like nobody wants, well, listen, I can't speak for every country's culture of resumes, but in the US, nobody cares about reading that much of your personal history on your resume. And I've never heard of a country who wanted a bio on a resume. So you have some good work here. There's a lot of stuff you don't need. There are things where it would do better if you had more information so we knew what part you played in the work that you have here. But good work. This is Jamazea. Little video in the beginning. A little introduction. And then here is tab 1 with one project. Their Fallen One project. I'm going to say it. The watermarks are huge and very distracting. And yeah, find a way to make them more subtle. You have like a giant box with the name, and it is very distracting. I do like the fact that you just have a few keywords as opposed to a big long paragraph about the themes that you wanted to address. But I don't see how this and this, like thematically they relate, but this one is like soft textures, soft pastels, glowing, light, ethereal, just like you say. And then you get like impure little punk glam, which I don't really understand here. And then here, everything is black, blood red. It's like, what happened? How are they connected to one another? Okay. Your mood board literally sets the mood for the entire project. It's like, let's say you're doing a runway show and you decorated the stage and set and the whole room like this with like light champagne gold tapestries hanging, and the whole ceiling is painted with clouds and soft blue sky, and all the seats are these plush pastels. Okay, so you've decorated the whole set and space like this, and then the clothes come out like this. I think people are going to think that they're going to kind of negate the set and be like, oh, maybe it was set up for someone else and they're just borrowing the space. Like, you need something that connects them together. Okay, something that flows through both. Okay, you have your Pantones, but, and you have notes on what fabric you used with each of your sketch pages, your design pages. I would have liked to have seen a fabric board or something where the fabrics coming together, like the colors coming together, illustrate a cohesive collection, and the fabrics, the colors, and then the fabrics, each set kind of illustrates a cohesive collection. I like the flats. I like the detail shots of the flats, like, hey, this is how the chains are attached and all this stuff. This is a lot. It's a lot, and it's not particularly well organized. And if you have a really good flat like this, and then you have your dress worn on models, I don't know if it's necessary for you to have your illustrations there, particularly because I think illustration is not your strongest skill set. And your flats are far better than your illustrations, which is the better way. Your flats should be better than your illustrations. For designers, flats are more important. I would have liked to have seen better photos. Like throughout your entire portfolio, all your projects, I really feel like you're doing a disservice to yourself by not having like really beautiful professional photos so that we can really assess truthfully what your garments look like and appreciate the design. You have odd angles, poor lighting, and they don't even need to be like high fashion or elaborate or anything, but something clean and well lit so we can really truly appreciate the designs. Okay, same here. Okay, the illustration, not super important. I would have liked to have a close up of this material and how it got this crinkle effect because that's cool. I don't know what this is. What is this spoon? Does this mean you hand dyed it and that's why you're stirring it with a spoon? Okay. I don't know why this flat is so light and this flat is so dark, but you do need some consistency. See, I see that you have these little round circles with the fabric, but they're getting kind of lost because you have so much stuff going on. You have this textured background, you have your watermark, you have multiple photographs, and then you have a sketch and you have flat. It's a lot. It's very busy and it's a lot. Like the opposite problem of Ada. Like you have a little bit too much information. You want to like edit it down. Like clearly you have an understanding of garment construction and how things are coming together because you are literally making these garments, But again, like get rid of the illustrations, get some really good photographs of your work, press your clothes before you put them on models. Show consistency in the size and darkness and line weight of your flats. These kinds of selfies, not helpful. And then you have these images at the bottom, which, I mean, if you do want to have like a set where they all look like they've all gone to a party, a bacchanal, of sorts, that's one thing. But you do need like really clean professional photos of your work. Here's your Bratz project. And this is kind of cool. You don't even need words to kind of describe how everything is coming together. You have some textures, some materials, Bratz references, a color story with the purple. And, these pages, like you have this crazy background with the purple, but it doesn't even bother me because you have the flats are white and gray and you have a white backdrop on the sketch. And so you still can focus on the flats and the illustrations. And then the background of the Bratz just adds color and interest. Again, this is a way where you can have different things happening, but still have clarity. But I would like to see more, like you have darts here, which is good. You probably need some darts somewhere here and here. So keep going with that. This is random. Like all your flats are white and then you drop this, do one or the other. I don't know how to read this. Usually when we drop a gray in the flat, it means that's the back of the garment. And so if you're looking at it from the back, this should be white. Wait, that's the front. That's the back. Then what is that? I don't know what that is. Is this a 3D rendering of this? If so, that is really cool. And if you're good at that kind of stuff, you should really like highlight that. I don't know if this color story really works for Bratz. Like if you were thinking like a true collaboration offshoot of the brand, the purple only being used as the background is not working. I think that this purple is really the true Bratz color. This ice blue with the purple, like I really feel like you should have incorporated that in a Bratz collection more than so much brown. Okay. Example tech pack. See, people are really looking for this kind of work. I would have highlighted this first in the beginning, like have its own page, not hidden under the more button. Like this kind of stuff, you did this rendering, this stuff is cool. This is some of the coolest stuff you have on your website. You should really highlight that, okay? All on its own page. And resume, work experience, other experiences, skills, that's cute with the little icons. And Okay, work experience always ahead of education. When you put education first, it looks like you're a recent grad. Okay, and even if you are, you don't want to look like that. You want to look like you've been working. Okay, education is just there, and the other stuff, the other experiences are related to being a designer, so that's fine. And yeah, this is unnecessary. You can have a headshot on your resume, but do not have a headshot on your actual resume CV that you submit with a job application. Okay, there are some countries that that's a requirement. It is not in the U.S. In fact, things like gender and race do not need to be considered at all for any sort of job position outside of like modeling, acting, where your physicality needs to be front and center. So I would recommend you not have that at all. You really need to, highlight your 3D work. Highlight your 3D work, get some nice photos of your work, okay? Iron your clothes, style your models, get some professional, clean photos, and really be careful of those watermarks because they make it look really amateur when people splash huge watermarks all over your work, okay? Those are your biggies. I hope the three of you found my feedback helpful. Apparently Michael did because he emailed me back, sending me the fresh link to his website, showing me the changes he made to his website and portfolio based off of my feedback. So do you remember how we had that green and red and cutesy looking homepage? This is Michael's homepage now. He has home, women's wear, CV, about me, contact, and he has like a automatic slideshow of, I am assuming, what he thinks are his strongest works, and it's great. You can wait for them to scroll or you can scroll yourself. I love this image. And yeah, so he has like a selection of his strongest here. Let's click on women's wear, and then he has the 4 labels that he's designed for. And you go there and expand for best quality, which is nice. And you can go through and look at his work, and this is much nicer, much more professional than having a Behance link, going through hundreds and hundreds of pages and you can see and you can expand. And this is all his label rail stuff. And then you can look at his, what did I click on? Lost ink stuff. I guess he doesn't really care to be in menswear anymore, so he took that out, which is smart, because if you don't want to do it, then don't advertise yourself as such, right? And just the overall look is really cohesive with the style in which he designs, okay? My whole thing with the green and red and everything, the key thing was it did not match up with any of his design work. And so I wanted his page to look like his design work, like it all belonged to the same designer. CV, okay, key achievement at the top, about me, okay, and this is nice. A few paragraphs, easy read, and then contact, which we'll just let him keep that private, okay? And I think this looks great. Like, the key points that I made about his portfolio before have been resolved. How the surrounding website was not cohesive with all the clothes that he was designing. He had such a huge volume of work that it was exhausting trying to flick through all of them. So he needed to edit it down to what he thought was most indicative of his strong points and the things that he himself had the most active hand in, things like that. And I think he edited his his portfolio beautifully. Good job, Michael. Okay. Good luck on the job hunt. If you want to submit a portfolio for a future critique video, number 1, send me a link to teaching@zoehong.com. In the body of the email, I need you to say to me, "Hey Zoe, this is my portfolio and I give you permission to critique it on camera that is what I consider a video release form. Okay, that is something that when someone comes on my channel to be interviewed, I ask them to sign a release also. So you need to have that little paragraph in there, a little sentence saying, I give you permission to critique my portfolio on camera for your channel. All right. So yeah, submit your portfolio. If you would like a critique, drop me your questions below, and I will see you in the next video.